My name is Juan Martinez. I grew up in Hoboken, New Jersey. One day I would be sitting in a car, and I believe this was like 2006. I was looking at the clouds, and you know what, as crazy as it sounds, this is the only day that I didn't get high. Now, most of my life I got high every day, from morning to night, just every day. I would be looking up at the clouds, and I would begin to weep. I mean, it wasn't just like a trickle of a tear coming down my face. I mean, it was like an uncontrollable cry. I think the only other time I felt something like this was when I felt the Holy Spirit come upon me later. So it was one of those cries. I had a driver, and I remember the driver freaking out and looking at me like, hey, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? And I remember just crying and crying and crying and crying. And it wasn't like I had never read the Bible. I had never read the Bible. The only thing I've seen was Our Father, the Father's Prayer. And I remember it wasn't like an audible voice, but man, it was close. It was kind of like I could feel it set inside me, maybe like my spirit. And it was kind of like, why are you killing, stealing, and destroying the very lives I'm giving people? Later I would find out that that's scripture. And I started to think, man, for the first time in my life, I felt like the devil. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I felt like, wow, like I felt like an enemy of God. I felt like, oh my God, what am I doing? And in a twinkling of an eye, stops. Either something happened or I went plumb crazy. And I think I'm pretty sane. So, I look at the person, now the ruh turned into, are you okay? Kind of like, and I'm like, I go, yeah, I'm fine. They're like, man, you must have some buzz. And I go, no, man, I'm sober. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going fine. But what would happen next is that when I would get to the place where I was supposed, because I had about 8 ounces of meth, and when I would get to the houses where I was gonna go deliver the drugs, I would feel kind of like a conviction. Because now I know conviction, then I couldn't explain it. But it was kind of like, it was for the first time in my life, I felt bad about what I was doing. It was like I had this, so they would open the door and now I would be like, but I still gave it to him because I don't think, I didn't have no Jesus. So it was kind of like, here, I felt bad, but let's keep doing this. A few months later, I guess that there was this person that was like the big guy in the town, and eventually I would pass him up, right? In the ranks of, I guess, the underworld, right? And what would happen is that I needed a big shipment, and he was going to connect me. He was going to connect me with the plug, and so I was going to go to Fort Worth, Texas. I had a driver then too. It was a female, and she was driving me, and I said, listen, this is going to be quick, It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, and we parked the car. It's a remote area. All I see is one guy out there. I don't see anything else. I don't see a car. I see one guy. Get out of the car. I go over there. I pull out the money. I hand him the money. He hands me the meth. Turn around. For some reason, I go to taste it, and it wasn't real. And so I go to turn around. The guy's running at me. I grab him by his legs. He falls on the ground. When I put up my fist to hit the guy, I see a guy in a ski mask coming with the gun pointed to the driver or the girl's head, and she begins to walk towards us as he's walking. She says, don't do it, don't do it. So I kind of lay down, and this guy commences to beating on me. I mean, I've never been beat like this in my life. This was a beating like none other. I remember laying there thinking that that girl was gonna die, and that, every time I picked up my head, they would hit me. I believe they probably beat me for about 20 minutes before I heard the clack of the gun. although I'm saying this and I talk really fast, I believe that at that moment it was like the slowest and the longest thing I've ever been through, you know? I felt like I heard the clack. I remember thinking I'm gonna die, so I yelled out, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come." I didn't know how to pray, but before you know it, I hear the car drive off. And so the gun didn't go off. I don't know. I wholeheartedly believe that that was one of the moments where the Lord really cleaned his ear to me, you know. It was a true cry out. I still really didn't know Jesus or anything, but I knew there was a God, and I felt like I cried out, and I looked up, and I remember the girl getting up and started screaming. I believe my head was about out here. I couldn't even put a hat on. I remember somebody telling me, "Hey, they're looking for you for aggravated robbery." I said, "Aggravated robbery?" And I said, "I ain't gonna aggravate rob nobody. I'm a drug dealer. Why would I rob anybody?" So I wind up, believe it or not, calling the police department in Breckenridge, and I said, "Hey, I didn't rob anybody. I hear you guys are looking for me for rob." I said, "I'm all the way in Odessa." They said, "All right, New York, you know, you sure you're not here?" I said, "No, I'm not." Well, somebody had leaked where I usually have this home, so I was coming back, and it was right before I had about 4 grams of meth, but it was right before I made the big pickup. So if they would have caught me after, I probably would have did 90 years. Detective, you know, the guy, I remember they wanted me to say that I did it, right? So they would sit me down and they would ask me questions. And the amazing thing is that they would say, "Okay, now you want me to help you, right?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, tell me what happened." And I would tell him what happened, and they would go, "Now, do you want me to help you?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I want you to help me." So you know what they would say? They would look at me and they would say, let's say the truth here. So you were high. You went in the house. You hit him in the head." I said, "No, I'm a drug dealer. I didn't do that. I really didn't." You know, and so I said, "Give me a lie detector test." They gave me the lie detector test. The guy was still, he said, "Listen, if you want me to help you, you're gonna have to say the truth." I said, "Man, I know I'm saying the truth." A guy comes out from Breckenridge that knew me, a detective at that time, and he's like, "Look," he goes, "I know you didn't do it, but do you have the proof of the hotel, all that?" So all that would be in the works while I'm waiting. Now I'm waiting, and I'm waiting in a cell, and I would meet a guy that would say he was a pastor, and he's in jail, right? And you know how the story goes in jail, everybody's innocent, right? So at the end of the day, he comes in and he goes, "Hey, you know, I'm here for you." Well, I said, "Whatever," and I went to my cell, but it made me think. The next morning, I would look across, and he would be in a prostrate position for a long time. And so all of a sudden, he gets up, and so I run to the gate, and I go, "Hey, man, what were you doing?" He says, "I was praying." I said, "You was praying?" I said, "What do you mean you was praying?" He said, "I was praying." And he said, you need to, he said, "I'm here for you. You need to start reading the Bible. You need to start watching TV." That's what he said. Later, I would see that he watched TV. He said, "You need to start watching some TV, man." And I said, "Watch what?" And he's like, "Every morning I go down there and I watch TV and just come down at the same time." Because I could see him. It's a gate. He's on this side, I'm on this side. He's like, "You go down there and you watch it too." So I would go in the cell that night, kind of like I didn't even know what TBN was. I just knew it was going to be on the TV the next morning. So I started reading my Bible, and something happened. Can't explain it. Just kind of like I went down the next morning. He was already down there. He beat me to it. He was watching TBN. I went on my side and I started watching TBN, and I'll never forget who it was. It was Jesse Duplantiss. Man, and I was like, "What is this?" And so I guess, you know, most people say I'm pretty funny, you know? And so when I looked at him, he was hilarious. And he was just saying all these jokes, and in the midst of his jokes, every now and then, you know, you get the little, you know, because he would say the word, and so that would hit you. It was a process. Day after day, I would watch TBN. Every morning I would go, and now those were like my pastors, right? So I would talk to the guy from across, and we would talk about what TBN was saying, right? I don't think I had surrendered yet. I believe the importance of watching TBN was listening to the word that would be implanted in my heart. It would be the seed. And they say that the heart is like the womb, right? So it would be the seed that the heart would receive. And day after day I would watch, and day after day the seed was planted, then it was watered, and then it was planted. Then I would talk to that guy, and that guy would nurture it, you know, because he would tell me. I was like, what did he mean by this? And what did he mean by that? And I would continue to read my Bible. And then one day, it would be months after that. I remember it being a night. It was a night, and I remember being in my cell after listening to TBN, probably for a few months. I would kneel down and I would surrender my life. I threw my hands up, and I remember like I was like, God, I don't want to do 25 years. I was like, I can't do 25 years. You know, I think that's when all the toughness leaves you, right? When you start thinking 25, I said, that's my whole life. I'm gonna be old. I'm gonna get out of here. I was like, give me a chance. Like, I think, you know, to be honest, that was probably the first time it was the first time I ever prayed, like had a conversation with God and spoke with God. Because before that, it was only the Our Father. So I was able to, I was talking to him, and he answered. He answered, because months after that, they would give me the charge of over 4 grams, under 200 grams, possession of methamphetamines with the intent to distribute. But they would find out the truth, that I didn't do the aggravated robbery. And because of that, they winded up giving me 4 years. So I did a year in county, about 2 years in TDCJ, and I got out, and I had a year parole. When I got out, it was amazing. It was just unbelievable. I got out of, you know, Jonah got out of the mouth of the whale. I got out of the mouth of the jail, and I began to run. And it wasn't to Nineveh. For me, it was like, you read it, you do it. You read it, you do it. And I just seen these guys doing amazing things on TBN and talking about all the lives that were changing. So all those seeds that were planted in me from TBN and from the guy, if I did not meet that guy, you know, so I don't know who I'm talking to today, but maybe there's somebody you need to tell that you watch it and you're holding it back like it's the best kept secret. Well, maybe you need to tell somebody, because that guy telling me that I needed to watch TBN and go there morning after morning and day after day changed my life. It put me in the right course. It changed me put me in the right direction. It showed me what I needed to do.